Absolutely. I'm just going, yes, and busy writing down notes. So, yeah, just to touch on all of those points pretty much. I went to a business like seminar with a guy from, well, he's from Hawaii, but based in Byron last I knew, called Jeffrey Slater. And so he was talking a lot about marketing and so on. And the room was full of maybe about 300 to 400, mainly women, all in tie-dye. We were all artists, healers, community generators, permaculturalists, like all of the things, and all like really, really struggling financially. And he said something along the lines of, all of you people that feel like, you shouldn't be making money, you should be just like, focusing on your, being an artist and suffering from your craft and all of these kinds of things. He said, you're actually the people that the world needs to make the money, because you're the ones that are going to steer it the most responsibly, And that was the first moment for me that I thought, it's my responsibility to make a lot of money so that I can create all of the things and help to create all of the structures that are going to help turn the world around. So I thought that was quite funny. And you mentioned before, the example of, say, a healer who doesn't really know how to step into business. And we've got this traditional model where if you want to set yourself up as any kind of coach or whatever, you need to get somewhere to work from, and you need all of your infrastructure and your business planning and your administration and your marketing and your website and all of your online stuff. Like, you need so much stuff, even just to start working as one service provider. But if we can even bring those kind of structures into a collaborative model where all of those different aspects, people are coming in and helping each other out, we're creating all of these mini businesses, even out of just selling your own service, so that healer or coach or artist or whoever it is can actually just spend the bulk of their time doing what they're good at, instead of having to wear so many hats and wearing themselves out. And one of the ideas that I had around that is, when I was simply living in my van for a long time, because I simply didn't have the resources to be able to live in a house. So I spent a lot of time in between doing like work exchange or house sitting and those kinds of things. And sometimes when I needed a break, I would go and stay at an ashram, not because I'm interested in ashrams, but because that was the only kind of space where I could go and be in that community type of environment outside something like a festival. And I was thinking, wow, imagine having that kind of infrastructure and community, but instead of going there with a pure focus on, say, yoga or, whatever the, kind of spiritual focus is, instead on having the focus on generating collaborative businesses together, so that you're, I like the idea in ashrams that you can, do a work exchange for accommodation, but then that falls short, because then when you finish, you've still got nothing. But if you could instead spend that time investing your energy into businesses at the same time as, say, putting in a few hours a day in the garden and helping the whole space grow, so that's your kind of exchange, but then you have the resources and support to be able to invest into projects, then you leave with some income. So, so that it's more empowering, so you're not absolutely reliant on that structure for survival. And so one of the ways that then we're looking at starting to make that happen here in Luxor is to start to create projects such as, there's a big tourist, there's a huge influx of tourists here, and a lot of them are, coming here for spiritual tours and things like that. Honestly, from what I see quite a lot of disconnect with the kinds of actual offerings that are playing out in that spiritual realm, to the point that I don't even want to use that word anymore. And so, you know, one of the things that we're looking at doing is generating a collaborative of, like, you know, really high-end individuals here that are offering real estate. You know, we've got this place that we're going to be turning into, well, we are turning into a creative space, so that people that want to run retreats have somewhere to come and create and do healing work and co-working and all of that kind of stuff, and record podcasts, you know, all of that stuff. And then there is a lot of accommodation here that's really beautiful. There's amazing dahabiyas. There's about 24 that we have at our disposal. There's a lot of incredible local services from people that don't speak a lot of English and don't actually have online infrastructure or knowledge to be able to promote themselves. So we can help them by bringing them into the circles. Then, you know, there's a lot of other other locals more in Cairo that have more of a Western education, so they can kind of bridge the gap between cultures and between language. There's a lot of land regenerative projects across Egypt that we don't know about because they don't have access to marketing. So, you know, there's so many different areas here where we can really bring our resources together, even just around creating a central directory of each other so that we can find each other. And so we have a big palette to then be able to co-create events and retreats and courses and all of that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm kind of seeing here. And you mentioned Cassandra doing the affiliate kind of work. Well, that to me is one of the simplest ways, most succinct ways, if we don't have more complex infrastructure yet to be able to be able to figure out the pieces of the proverbial pie, so to speak, in a project. That to me is one of the simplest ways to be able to promote each other's products and services and support ourselves financially at the same time. So I was excited when you mentioned her as well. And, you know, with that core of, you know, we don't need to focus on money, but we do need money to make all of these things happen. So let's thrive with the money while we're in that transitionary phase to the point that we don't need it. And I remember Jack Fresco from the Venus Project was saying, you know, we've got more than enough resources, food, land, buildings, schools. We have more than enough for the whole world, but there isn't actually enough circulating wealth in the world to pay for the resources within the world. So we just have this roadblock, and it's ridiculous. So you know, generating ways outside or in addition to the financial system to be able to enable ease of access between those resources, I think is really important.